Welcome to another episode of Loopstudio Talks. I'm Eduardo Vargas. Today, I'm joined with Cecilia Gara, our head of design. How is going, Ceci? How is your day?
Hey, Elle. All good, thanks. I'm excited to finally be here and to share some of our learning path with our audience.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for joining us. It's our sixth episode. I'm eager to talk with you. You're the first woman in our talks, but let's go to talk a little bit about design sprints for cybersecurity projects. We already covered the basics of a design sprint back in episode 3 with Seba, but Ceci, you lead the design team and you lead design at an enterprise level. How do you adapt the sprint format for high security, large scale projects?
Well, large scale project and especially cybersecurity project have architecture that could turn out very complex. So for design sprint, it's crucial to manage the scope from the beginning of the process. Because if we don't do it, it could happen that the scope is gigantic and 1 week is not enough to cover it. So if we notice that the platform is too big or too complex, we need to suggest to the client to divide it into smaller parts and prioritize them and suggest performing, for example, more than one sprint if it's necessary, right? So if we don't do it, we will probably lack the necessary amount of time to dedicate it to the problem that we wanted to solve. So it's our job as the technical team to identify that, to identify the main problem and focus on that. And of course, that all the team must be agree on this to be on the same page, right? That is really important in the design sprint.
Wow, that's incredible because in the past we talked with the team members from design and from technology about a small design sprint, small products. Can you share an example where adjusting the sprint steps made a difference in a cybersecurity context?
Yeah, sure. We normally work with a template for our activities and our agenda, but the agenda is fully customizable. We did this several times before for some of our clients, depending on their necessities, right? So
Great.
there are a lot of things to take into account when we define the agenda and the activities. For example, what the clients need, how much time does the client to dedicate it into the process, how big is the scope, do we need more time to the prototype, etc., etc., etc. One of the things that we always try to explain to a client is that it's crucial they are fully committed to the process. When, for example, their schedule is too complex to block their agenda for the entire week, that is a common case. We try to adapt by selecting activities that really add value in that particular case. So we have several of these cases in the past, and by focusing in only the most impactful steps, we still receive strong results and in less time.
Okay, got it, got it. And in all this scenario, how do you ensure that the sprint outcomes align with both security requirements and user experience goals? Because you have a lot of things there.
Yeah. We always address security requirements from the beginning of the process when we understanding all the things like the problem, the user, the competitors, etc. When we align all the knowledge with the client. And a key part of the process is to making sure we are on the same page, the technical team and the client. So security needs are always clear and validated from the day one. That's the security requirement part. And on the UX side, we focus on the details through the entire process, making sure the experience meets the security needs and also feels smooth for the user. So in the last day of the design sprint, that is the testing day, the day where when we test the prototype with the potential users, is when we really see if we accomplish those goals, right? And we receive feedback from the users, from the potential users, and we gather the feedback, and we decided later with the technical team and the client if we wanted to incorporate them and iterate the prototype. So this way, we make sure both security and usability, user experience are fully covered which is essential for the platform, but even more for the complex one.
Incredible, incredible. So we need to keep all the security standards. We need to take care of all the user experience. But here's something crucial for technical products, and it's accessibility. So let's move into that. What should a CTO or head of design, even a project manager, everyone in cyber world care related to accessibility?
I'm really glad you talk about accessibility. It's like my passion. Accessibility is much more than meeting standards or regulation or even avoiding a penalty. It's about making sure our product is usable by the widest range of people, will be customer, employees, partners, regardless of their ability, right? And in cybersecurity, this become even more crucial because if, for example, someone can read an alert clearly or struggle to complete a process quickly, it could delay the response to a security issue. And that's really important. So we need to understand that the accessibility isn't just a nice to have, it directly impacts both efficiency and security.
That's key. What you mentioned, it's not like a nice to have. It's everything. We need to take care on that. So what are the most common mistakes you see when accessibility is not considered from the start?
It's very common to see products that treat accessibility like a later consideration because they have a legal urgency instead of a design principle from the day one. But the most common mistake that we usually see are, for example, relying just in color to show critical information, or for example, not optimizing the screen readers, or this is a usual case in the cybersecurity pro, presenting huge amount of data without structure or without hierarchy. So just put in an example. I remember one case in an alert platform where critical status was shown only with a red cycles. And for example, for colorblind users, they couldn't tell the difference between the critical one and the normal status, and that's huge. And we fixed that with just adding an icon, text label, and a stronger contrast color. So the important thing I think to see here is that with those small changes, we just not just helping the colorblind user, it made the alert clear, faster to read for all the users.
That's incredible. It's like you need to take care of almost all the a big group of people. Can you share an example where a design adjustment significantly improved the experience for all users?
Absolutely. Let me think. I remember recently we worked on improving a complex multi-factor authentication login. The client told us that this flow was really difficult and frustrating for many users. So after analyze the flow, we solved this issue like with small changes again, focusing on simplifying the language for that specific user, of course, added a step-by-step instructions that is really important too, and make sure everything was keyboard accessible. And the result was the login time dropped almost half. That's and what's great is that wasn't just people with accessibility needs who benefit from this. Another time, everyone appreciate and smoother and less confusing flow. It was proven that the designing with accessibility in mind end up creating a better experience for all the users.
Wow, wow. Thinking in one case could solve the problem from all the users. This is something related to redesign. So, pro redesign with security in mind is a challenge. And many think a redesign is just making it look better. But in our case, it's much more than that. Is how do you approach everything? So, how do we approach a redesign at Loop Studio?
Exactly. A redesign isn't just about making things look nicer. For us, at least, it's really about rethinking the entire product, the whole product, like starting from the business goal, the user needs, and of course, the security. And in Loop Studio, what we usually suggest to do is to run an audit, an initial audit, where we look carefully at the product architecture, the technical context, and even usability and accessibility. And we create a document, and with that result, we sort everything out, we prioritize it, and we add some effort estimations. And when that's clear, we sit down with the client to make sure we are aligned and moving into the right direction. And from there, we start adjusting both the experience, that is the UX part, and then the visual, that is the UI part. So the product end up not only easy to use, but also stronger and secure. That is really important for us.
Great, great. In cybersecurity projects, what risk do we face if we change the design without considering architecture and technical flows?
In cybersecurity, broad design change without technical alignment, for example, can introduce an usability gap that compromise the security. For example, if you move an authentication step to another point of the flow without validate that with the technical team to see, for example, uncontemplated dependencies, you might accidentally create a vulnerability or even block a legitimate user from accessing the system. So that's why we always recommend to keep fluent communication with the technical team and validate all before we moving forward with the final design and of course with implementation. In Loop Studio, we always recommend to incorporate design into the agile ceremonies and adding a design review meeting in the middle of the sprint so designers and the developers can sit down together and share feedback on how the design is shaping up. That's a good approach to follow.
That's something really important that you mentioned, and it's key, not just Loop Studio, in for our partners and customers also, is like the communication between teams. Design and technology, they are not separate teams. They are a team when they are working in projects, and they need to communicate well and work together. So how do we make sure the design is quickly adopted by users or already used to a different interface?
That's a really good question. In large organization, for example, we work closely with the user engagement team that run onboarding sessions or training sessions. But in the cases where the company is smaller and we don't have the user engagement team, another effective strategy is to include interactive tours that guide the user through the updates. That's very common. And another strategy is to roll out changes gradually, keeping familiar elements so users don't feel lost and can adapt with confidence. We always suggest releasing the changes in phases because users can adapt progressively without losing efficiency in their day-to-day tasks.
That's incredible, because it's like we need to take care of how we know that this adoption is working. So design role in product adoption is crucial. In our marketing plan, we talk about how user experience, user interface helps to reduce friction in complex flows like MFA or technical dashboards. How do you see this in practice?
We focus on simplify everything, like the steps on a flow or a visualization in a view. Some of the things that we usually do is using a clear language. That's very important. Anticipating doubts and always providing documentation or inline help. Our mantra, our like rule, it's simple. It's like the user should never feel lost or frustrated. They should always know what to do, why they are doing it, and feel confidence along the way. Because as in any other experience, we need to take care of our users and making sure they are having the best experience we can provide them.
Awesome. I have a question that I really like, because it could be had different opinions, but do you think design is a competitive advantage in this type of products, or is it still underestimated?
That's a tricky question. Honestly, I think it's still underestimated. But companies that invest in design, they see faster adoption, fewer support tickets, and also stronger customer loyalty. In a market where products can be technical or even visually similar, design become their real differentiation. And another important thing here is that we can prove the data with data, sorry, the result of our work. And that is huge. And that is usual a great aspect to defend the design in the cases when we face and we talk with possible clients that still underestimate our value, our work. So we use, for example, Google Analytics, so that we use to measure the result of our work.
100% agree on that. And sometimes entrepreneurs, they just want like a project built based on their idea, and the front end engineers are the designers, and the back end engineers are the developers. And it's not that simple. The design team put a lot of value in the results after even a POC, an MVP, or scaling a project. Design is crucial when you want to get more customers, get loyalty, as you mentioned, and even in larger projects, if you scale your project and you don't take care of all that scale, the user experience could suck and you will not have the results. Even if you invest a lot in technology, design is crucial. I have another question that is key. If you have to give one piece of advice to a design team just starting in cybersecurity, what will it be?
Remember that this is a fast growing industry with a human side. Our job, as always, is to help people, regardless of their age or their background. And we need to help them to navigate to this new world in a simple and in a safety way. So that is important. Another advice will be learn the technical language, of course, and understanding the risks and position yourself. I think that that is the most important thing, like position yourself as a bridge between the security and the usability.
I love that. And we are people working with people, even with the help of AI. So we need to take care of that relation and take care of that symphony.
Yeah.
Uh, Ceci, it's been great having you here. The first woman at Loop Studio being brave and part of this. I think it's clear now that design is not just the pretty layer of the user interface. It's a lot, and it's key to make a secure product usable and widely adopted will be good result for our customers and anyone that adopts design.
Thanks, Edu. I really enjoyed being here, and as always, it's good to bring design into the technical conversations.
Thanks everyone for listening or watching. Eh, See you on the next episode. Have a good one, Ceci.
Bye. Thank you.